The Fox City SCORE chapter and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biz Talk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences from starting to sustaining growth. Learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you missed anything, you can catch the Biz Talk podcast at biztalkwithscore.com. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biz Talk on WHBY.
Good morning and welcome to Biz Talk with Score. I'm Terry Pinch, one of your co-hosts. And joining me this week is a first-time co-host, Honor Jensen. Honor, welcome to the show.
Terry, it's great to be here.
Could you tell our listeners just a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Honor Jensen. I run a little business called Thriving with Honor, and I'm a business and a mental fitness coach, which just means that I help extraordinary high achievers level up to create a business and a life that's better than what they could do by themselves. And also to quiet that inner critic that talks to us all the time in our head and keeps us from doing what we know we really have the potential to do. I became a SCORE mentor about 4 months ago, and I actually did it because I referred so many people to SCORE who were just getting started in their business, but I really work with people who've been there for 3 or 4 years or more. And so someone said, well, why don't you be a volunteer? And so I did, and it's been a great experience.
Well, great, and we're happy to have you in SCORE and for joining us on the broadcast today. Now we're going to turn to our guest this week. We have a very unique guest in that she has both a profit and for-profit business, or non-profit business, sorry. And there are very few people out there where I've seen both, but it's really neat to see. So this week we have Selena Darrow on the show, and she has a Culinary Innovations, for-profit business, and Rooted in nonprofit. So Selena, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so as we get started, tell us a little bit about you. How did you get to where you are today?
Sure. I've been born and raised in Green Bay my whole life, so I am a true cheesehead. I started loving cooking when I was about 4 years old, and my mom got me my first cookbook, and has so always tinkered in the kitchen. By the time I was 12 years old, I was making 6-course and 7-course meals for my family, and in high school, I planned all the meals and did all the grocery shopping, and always had intentions of attending college for home economics. And that's what I did. And so I've always been in the culinary arts, and it's always been my passion and my love.
Okay. So your business, Culinary Innovations, describe that to our listeners.
Sure. So I got my culinary arts degree from Fox Valley Tech in 1998. And for the next 20 years of my career, worked in a lot of segments of the food industry locally. The last 20 of my career specifically on the corporate side. So I was a home economist for Good Humor Breyers. I was the test kitchen manager at Bird's Eye Foods. I was the corporate chef at Red Arrow Products. And prior to starting my business, I was the pizza Italian specialist at Performance Foods Group. And about 2.5 years ago, I had weathered several downsizes over the last 20 years. Companies moved out of the area, and was just ready to reconnect with what I really love to do, and was feeling a little bit lost. So I actually went to career and did some career counseling, and ironically, I was told that I have all the skills that I need. I just had needed to reconnect with what my purpose and my passion was. And so that led me to deciding to start Culinary Innovations, almost 2 years now.
Okay. And how did you go about starting it up? So that's where you want to go. You got to find clients. You got to get a business set up. How did you go through that?
So actually, I've been very fortunate to find a lot of work and set up my business through LinkedIn. So I ended up reconnecting with someone who I had worked with in the past, and he was running his own consulting business and was looking for someone to support him. So that's really how I started out the business. Quite frankly, I took kind of a slow and steady approach to growing my business. So really for the first 10 months, I just relied on projects that he was giving me in the subcontractor capacity. But it was really about a year ago that, I was like, okay, it's time to really, really devote myself to growing my business and marketing my business. So I put together some marketing materials and quite honestly just like started reaching out to my network through LinkedIn, setting up phone conversations, meeting for coffee, and just talking about what culinary innovations can do for food manufacturers, not only locally but across the country.
So, Selena, when you started this business, what was the vision that you had? What is the problem you solve, or what do you want to create in the world?
Sure. So my vision for my business was really to take my experience in research and development and product development and provide that technical piece to clients. So for example, say you want to develop a new product and you need to have someone who can really set down the ideas in place. And, we all have ideas, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a great idea to create a new product. So I help clients with figuring out that idea piece, help with some market research. And then my chef expertise rolls in and I help create what is called the gold standard. So the gold standard would be, say, for example, a client is looking to add a cheese sauce to a frozen vegetable product. So I would go to the grocery store and buy all of the ingredients to make, say, a cheddar cheese sauce. And then myself and the client, we would taste it and say, these are the attributes that we want in the finished product. So we would establish the gold standard. So then once we start doing the work with ingredients that we get from suppliers on a large scale, then we would develop prototypes and always go back to the gold standard. So as what we're developing from a manufacturing standpoint, matching the gold standard as far as attributes are concerned. And then another part of my business is the creative part. So that's where my experience running a test kitchen comes in. And then I get to take this product and either develop the cooking instructions for it, so to make sure that when the consumer is preparing it at home, that it's food safe, writing the verbiage for the cooking instructions. So to this day, if anyone out there is buying a bird's eye vegetable product, all of those cooking instructions in the back, I did all of that work here in Green Bay to make sure that those products were safe. And then from there, I get to create recipes, which has really been my true love since I was just a kid, coming up with ideas, that meet consumer needs when it comes to time, your budget, and of course, making sure that it tastes great.
So I have a daughter who loves bird's eye cauliflower wings. Were you involved in those?
I was not. That actually was after my time, but lots of ideas around voila, steamed fresh sauce vegetables, those sorts of things.
Okay. So when you're working with the company, these are people you've worked with before for the most part? How do you develop the relationship where they trust you to come up with the recipe? What's happened to make that work?
Well, really, it's having well thought out and well defined expectations. A lot of times I will feel out a client where they're at. And through those conversations, I can identify gaps. They may not be able to see what I do from my perspective with my experience working with consumers. So having those conversations up front, and it doesn't necessarily have to be specifically with people I've worked with in the past either. It's just understanding their business, who their audience is, and ultimately what their goal is. Recipes tend to be what you would call value added. So, it's another piece of marketing Because go back 40, 50, 60 years ago, Campbell's soup hit the jackpot when they developed that green bean casserole recipe. And it's been the most extraordinary marketing tool that, I am jealous of. But you need to look at it that way, that recipes can help you sell your products and actually bring confidence to your end user, to your consumer when they're in the kitchen as well.
Okay. So why do clients come to somebody on the outside to find a recipe for them rather than doing it in-house?
Well, unfortunately, over the last 15 years, the test kitchen professional or the home economist world has changed dramatically. A lot of companies scaled back, I would say maybe starting 10 or 15 years ago. And it's just, quite honestly, it's just been downsizing and not seeing the value of that, having that person in-house, which from my perspective is unfortunate because the professional working in-house really gets that intimate knowledge, understands the product development process, understands the usage piece of things, understands the products and the consumer. But now reality is that opens doors for me to use my experience to support people in capacity from the outside. Sometimes it's a benefit because you get stuck in your ways, or we've always done it a certain way, and you don't necessarily see beyond your bubble. So it has been helpful for me to come in as the third party and sometimes actually just quite honestly identifying a need that they didn't even know that they had.
So in this process, most of your clients apparently, you said, are coming from this lead of this gentleman that you've partnered with early on. How do you create new clients, and where does that fit in your next phase of growth?
Yeah, so that initial relationship really just was the springboard for me to give me the confidence that yes, I can do this. I can make a living doing this. And it's really just what has been the key to my success is making the most of my LinkedIn profile. I use that in lieu of a website. So there is literally a chronological order of my career, examples of recipes I've developed, of projects I've worked on, aspects of volunteering, awards, accomplishments, pictures, videos, and really it's that. And using the network that I've built on LinkedIn, I think I have over 1,200 connections. A lot of those folks were people that I've worked with, for 25 years. And the biggest thing that I've done was just reconnecting with those folks that I used to work with and who respect me and know that I bring value to the table. And, quite honestly, I'm giving them an opportunity for them to work with a trusted resource again.
I love that because I talked with a lot of clients and I like, where do you create clients? And I'll say, talk to the people you already know. And they say to me, okay, but I don't want to feel salesy to them. So how do you break that barrier of calling them up and saying, hey, it's Selena, here's what I'm doing now?
It honestly hasn't been a problem, because we had a good relationship. I've had good relationships with everyone that I've called and touched base with. Everyone's been super supportive. It hasn't been intimidating at all. You can probably tell I'm a very outgoing, talkative person. I just enjoy being around people and having those conversations. So it's not intimidating for me. It's actually been wonderful to reconnect with people, and just see where people's careers have gone. And it's actually opened up more doors for me because they know other people, and then we start talking, and then all of a sudden we know the same people, and it's just been a really wonderful transformative process.
What would you say to those people who are like, well, I don't want them to think I'm trying to sell them. I don't know if I should call. What advice would you give them?
Just do it. Be yourself. Make sure that before you make these phone calls that, you've put in the work to establish like a PowerPoint or, a nice presentation that you can refer back to. That was one thing that I didn't have like 8 or 9 months into my business. And I was like, oh man, I need to come up with some marketing material so that when I do reach out to people and we have these phone conversations or video calls, that I have something to send them afterwards, that really, encompasses my business, the different services that I can provide, and just examples of the work that I've done.
Okay. We're actually at the perfect spot for our first break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we will be right back.
Welcome back to Biz Talk on WHBY. We're glad you joined us. Our guest this morning is Selena Darrow from Culinary Innovations and Rooted In. Before we continue our conversation with Selena, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Fox Cities Score. Our Fox City Score chapter serves an 8-county area, and we have about 35 volunteer mentors. Each is an expert in their field, offering entrepreneurs no cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, HR, retail, best practices, and many others. In order to register at a no-cost confidential mentoring session or learn more about the Fox City Score chapter, visit our website at score.org/FoxCities. You can learn more about how the Score chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to Score. Within a few days, a Score mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. Remember, Score is no cost and offers experts who can offer assistance in many different areas. To get started, visit our website at score.org/FoxCities. To support small business people, Fox City Score is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you would like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business, but are particularly looking for people with agriculture, healthcare, or legal experience. Go to score.org/FoxCities, click on the volunteer button, and fill out the short application. We will get back to you to explain more. Now let's get back to Selena.
Selena, you have a nonprofit, you've got a for-profit, and both of these you started up within 2 years. And we know you're also you've mentioned you're working with a nonprofit in Madison, so you've got 3 different activities going on. How do you manage your time?
Great question, Terry. And people usually say, do you sleep? And I said, yes, I do, like a baby. For Culinary Innovations, I think my business has transformed to the point where at first I was saying yes to all the work that was coming my way. And now I'm at the point where I'm actually have said no to a client several times. I have 3 really solid clients right now, that basically is where I'm focusing my time. With those 3 clients, there's certain periods of the year that are busier than others. So typically spring and fall, when I work food shows, are busy times. So I'm able to kind of fill in the nonprofit work. And now my new position with REAP, somewhat, in between there. I tend to work whenever I can. So say during the week I have something going on personally, I want to go for lunch or hang out with a friend, I'll work on the weekends or nights. And that's honestly one of the greatest things about having your own business is you have that flexibility. And it's what works for me right now. It's just being able to kind of like, have that ability to set my schedule, up how it works, for me with everything else that I'm juggling.
Okay. And do you have people that work with you, so contractors or vendors that you're using to help you, or are you managing this all your own?
As far as my business is concerned, I just manage everything myself. So everything from the accounting piece to marketing to the actual work, invoicing, billing, those sorts of things, I'm doing all myself. The nonprofit for Rooted In, I'm very fortunate to have an exceptional board of directors who supports me as the executive director. And then we have an advisory team. We are definitely needing to expand our board of directors and our support team this year with all of the projects that we have scheduled. So I'm trying to focus on just getting the foundation of the nonprofit set up and then starting to recruit volunteers to help us execute the projects that we have planned.
And before we'll get into Rooted In more in the third segment, but I just want to mention to everybody, if you want to really understand this business, go look at the website and see the annual report. For a nonprofit that's only been in place for 6 months, has done a phenomenal amount of work. So strongly recommend you go out and take a look at that. There's a lot of neat things going on and a lot more opportunity. When we come back after our next break, we're going to talk a bit more about Rooted In, how it started, where it's going, and there'll be a lot of interesting things you can learn there. So we're going to take a break now, and you're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY. Good morning, and welcome back to Biz Talk with Score. Before we get back to Selena Darrow from Culinary Innovations and Rooted In, I want to just give you a quick update on some educational opportunities. If you go to our website, which is score.org/Fox Cities, you'll see a tab in the upper quadrant that is for workshops and events. And I'm just going to mention 2 different ones coming up. You can go out there and take a look. There's literally hundreds of different events and opportunities. But the first one is one that is going to be a recorded event you can get to. It's actually being live this week, and we'll take our live events and then they go on as recorded. But there's one called How to Create a Financial Plan. And one of the questions we get an awful lot is around creating a financial plan for a business. And so this is a good opportunity to go out and find how to create a financial plan. Again, it's being recorded this week. And then once it's done, it'll take a little bit of time, but they'll get it out on the website. But it's certainly worth listening to. And another one coming up, which is completely related to creating a financial plan. It's on February 6th, and this is a live event, and at 1 o'clock, and it's called Loans, Grants, and Other Funding Options for Small Business. So usually the questions on financial plans are followed immediately by how do I get money to help start this business? And there's ways to do it. It takes some work, but there's an opportunity to have a live webinar that you can go out and listen to. So again, that's on score.org/Fox Cities. At workshops and events, and go out and see a lot of different programs. There's some amazing different training events out there you'll find. Okay.
All right. So back to Selena. I'm so curious to learn a little bit more about Rooted In. So tell me a little bit about why you created this non-for-profit and what was the need in the community that you saw?
Sure. So part of my business plan for Culinary Innovations is community service. So that's built into my plan. I've always been very invested in the community and volunteered a lot in the past. And so last year I got involved with another nonprofit in the health and wellness area, and literally just started getting out in our community and volunteering. And through that work, just started noticing a lot of gaps that there aren't enough people out there to do all the work that needs to be done. So that's really what, between myself and 2 other folks that I met while I was volunteering, collectively, we decided that we had that devil and angel moment. The devil saying, "Are you nuts? You're going to start a nonprofit?" And the angel on the other side was saying, "Yeah, but what about in a year from now? Imagine what you could do if you just tried." And I personally couldn't walk away from that. I had to at least try. And so Rooted In was born in June of 2023.
Awesome. So let's back up a little bit and say, what was that thing that you would regret if you hadn't tried? So what does Rooted In do in our community?
So Rooted In's mission is to strengthen the health of the greater Green Bay community through partnerships and seed to table programs that create and maintain a sustainable local food system. And quite honestly, when I was going to school at Stout, I had switched my major to food systems and technology. So my career has given me kind of a wide look at our food system. And, quite honestly, it's broken. And I just felt like my experience to this point in my career has given me not only the passion, but the skills and the energy and the time to try doing this through the nonprofit. It just was not a question of not doing it. It was a brief moment, but there's just the folks, not only myself, but the folks on our team are so passionate about changing this community and the way that we approach food, how we grow food, how we harvest food, how we cook food, and educating. One of our, we have several values: community, local food access, education, and equity. And we believe in sustainable programs. We believe in doing things that make a difference long term. And I've already seen the difference we've made in the short 6 months of being a nonprofit. It's amazing when you have a group of people who truly believe and are willing to do the work. Change is possible.
Can you give a couple of examples of some of those differences that you've seen already?
Sure. So last fall, it came to my attention that there's 11 community garden plots around the city of Green Bay, and they're typically rented out. There's a close to the season, and a lot of times there's still food that is edible and sitting, is there. The city would typically come in and just raise, mow it all over. So when I heard about that, I was like, oh no. So I started working with the UW Extension Community Gardens program, and we set up 2 days to go out and glean or recover the produce from those community gardens. And from those 2 experiences, we ended up gleaning over 600 pounds of produce that would have gone to waste otherwise. And, I went out and did a lot of the work myself. But what I learned is that although gleaning is an amazing thing, it's not enough. It doesn't necessarily mean that what I spend 8 hours out in the garden picking and bringing to food pantries is actually going to people in need. A lot of people in our community don't know certain fruits and vegetables. They've never seen it. It's not part of their culture. People don't have time to cook. They don't take the produce. And so I had a suspicion that that's what I would see. And so that's what has led us to this year, implementing 2 new programs, one called Cooking for the Community, where we will be working with partners. We will be growing our own food in our own garden plot. And we are going to start making meals for the community. We've identified 4 community partners who will be accepting our meals, with the guarantee that food will not be going to waste. We will also be doing canning for the community. So Rooted In itself will be working out of a commercial kitchen space. We will be licensed to process local fruits and vegetables. And we will end up canning salsa, marinara sauce, and applesauce, which will all be donated to our community partners.
Let's kind of flip to the business perspective a little bit. Can you tell me a little bit about how you learned how to set up a nonprofit and what are some of the differences that you learned between that and setting up your for-profit?
Well, there's a lot of resources in the community for nonprofits. So UW Extension has someone on their staff who helps with nonprofits. We right away got involved with the Volunteer Center of Brown County and signed up with them as an affiliate. So they've been very supportive, and we have a profile out for volunteer opportunities on their website. We've been working with the nonprofit leadership out at UWGB. So they have nonprofit leadership conversations 2-3 times a month. That's been very, very helpful. We actually worked with the UW Law Clinic in Madison. Green Bay is considered a rural community, and we didn't have money to pay someone to create legal documents for us. So they took us on as a client and legalized our articles of incorporation for us. So we were able to apply for tax exemption status. It's been a lot of lessoning, a lot of Googling, a lot of just learning as we go. I will frankly admit that I've made some mistakes along the way, but I'm learning as I go along, and at least now I have a baseline to tell people what to do and what not to do when they're starting a nonprofit.
So this comes back a little bit to a topic we covered before, but what made you think that you would be able to manage two really unique businesses like this, nonprofit and a for-profit, and keep that going as well as you have? Where'd you get the confidence from to do that?
I don't necessarily think it's confidence. I think that in the work that I've been doing for when I was volunteering last year before we started the nonprofit, I was just noticing that I had a unique skill set as a chef that would serve our community from a nonprofit standpoint in a way that was very unique. My experience, my connections throughout the food industry have served the nonprofit amazingly. A lot of the contacts I have through my business have graciously donated food products to us that we could donate outright to the food pantries. I just really think that as a chef, being able to say that I've been a culinary professional for 25 years, I've taught cooking classes, and I can show people how to cook with food in a way that meets where they are. I mean, as a community as a whole, I think the idea of sitting down at the table and enjoying a meal together, that has been lost, that art. And it doesn't matter what income bracket you fall into. We all deserve to eat healthy. We all deserve to have food at the table. We all deserve to enjoy each other's company. And although it's not written on paper, making those connections between us as human beings is what's driving me, because I've seen it in my own life, how the benefits of putting your device down and talking and having thoughtful conversations over food is transformative.
One thing we do know from this segment is you do not back down from a challenge.
No, sir, I don't.
What I just heard is, I heard a phrase one time that said, when your why is so important, the how just sort of works itself out. And that comes to mind when I listen to you. Your passion, your why, your reason for doing this far overshadows anything else where you're just not getting in your own way.
Yeah. And I will say, almost 2 years ago, one thing that has been instrumental in changing me as a leader, was starting to participate in the think tanks at Initiative One in Green Bay. once a month on a Friday mornings, either virtually or in person. They have a 45-minute leadership training session. And the first one I went to was about connecting your passion to your purpose. And it literally validated where I was in my life at that time and just gave me the confidence, I guess, to keep moving forward in the direction I was going. Being honest and transparent is my MO. I just tell you how it is. I treat people with respect. I think the nonprofit has been built on that everyone who comes to the table comes to our table. We specifically have a round table in our office because everyone who wants a seat at the table has a seat at our table. And it's very important for us to treat everyone with dignity. And I think that comes across through just our communications, our brand strategy, the feeling you get when you visit our social media. We care about all issues related to the health and wellness of this community.
So what do you see as the future for Rooted In? You've only had 6 months. You're heading with a lot of new things. Where are you taking this?
Yeah, so we developed 4 signature programs. So one is called Chef's Table at the Market. It's developing recipes using local products. Those recipes will be on our website. We're working on that right now. And then this summer, there will be Chef's Table at the Market booths, doing cooking demonstrations using those products sold at farmers markets, so people can shop locally right away. A lot of times I've seen people at the farmers market pointing at certain, vegetables and going, "What is that? I don't know what to do with that." And we're hoping Chef's Table and the recipes will alleviate those challenges. Another program we have is called Rooted in Love. Our big, in February, we're actually going to build do-it-yourself air purifiers with one classroom at Aldo Leopold to teach children about the importance of clean air. And indoor air quality is a huge top 5 health issue for children. So we will be, hopefully, as we grow and expand and get more support from the community, our intention is to hopefully do that at one school every single month. And then we have our Nourishment for All program, which I referred to earlier, regarding the canning for the community and cooking for the community. We're also working on what is called the Glean Team app. Working to develop an app with some students at NWTC, so that when people have produce that they're growing on their individual properties, or there's excess produce and you don't know what to do with it, you can use the app to ping someone on the Glean team and they will come and get it. And then we will use the produce either to donate directly to food pantries with recipes, or we will use that to make the meals or can with. And then our last program is Grow, just a couple things going on, but we will have our own community garden plot this summer. I am not a gardener, but I am going to be taught how to garden this summer, which is really exciting. And then we've also are working with the Admiral Court Apartments. They started gardening in 6 raised garden beds last summer. And they are hoping to create the future farmers of Green Bay. So giving the residents and the kids who live at that apartment complex, the ability to grow their own food and to show them how much fun it can be to grow your own food, and then what you can make with the food that you grow.
Okay, this is time for our last break. We're having a great conversation with Selena Darrow from Rooted In and Culinary Innovations, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. I would like to thank our sponsors who bring Biz Talk to you each weekend. We couldn't present Biz Talk without their generous support. Thank you to Abbey Bank. Abbey Bank makes banking about you because your dreams and goals deserve personalized attention and care. Whether you're navigating your personal finances, growing your agricultural endeavors, or managing your business, Abbey Bank is here to support you every step of the way. Join today and experience banking the way it should be. Thank you to Hailing and Associates. Hailing and Associates help small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan for taxes and help to minimize taxes for this year and beyond. Hailing and Associates, personal connection, positive results. And a special thank you to the Business News for promoting our program and the biweekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin. If you aren't already subscribing to Business News, you should. The paper is delivered bi-weekly and contains relevant and useful information about the business community in Northeast Wisconsin. And Selena, could you let our listeners know how they can contact you or hear more about your business and Rooted In?
Oh, sure. There's all sorts of ways. So you can reach out to me directly at Selena at rootedininc.org. We are also on Facebook at Rooted In Inc. We are on Instagram at Rooted In Green Bay. And we are also on LinkedIn at Rooted In Inc. We have a website. You will visit our website and we are adding new content every day. It's www.rootedininc.org. You can also sign up for our new newsletter, which we will be debuting in February on our website. And then also you can, there's opportunities to volunteer to support our programs this year and ways you can donate financially and goods. We value both people's donation of time and money because, not everyone's in the position to donate money, but what you can value the most is people's time, and that's precious. So,
can you tell us a little bit more about how you specifically use those people, the volunteer time and talent and treasure to support Rooted In?
Sure. So, every volunteer who reaches out, our intention is to find something that Rooted In can give back to them that connects with where they're at, where their passions are. So if your passion is cooking, if your passion is gardening, if your passion is writing grants, I'm learning how to write grants, and not my area of expertise. It is really our intention to find volunteer opportunities that meet people where they are, knowing how precious and valuable their time is. And then, as far as specific, financial donations or goods, we do have a wish list out on Amazon. Right now our initiative for January is to solicit food containers so that we have containers to put the food in for the meals that we're making. And then we also are looking for supplies to support our do-it-yourself air purifiers. So for those simple things, we need box fans, duct tape, and MERV air filters to build those air purifiers. So literally we can build one air purifier for $65 versus something that you could buy from the EPA for $200 or $300. So those are the two initiatives we have going right now.
And as we come to the last minute of the show, Selena, I want to thank you for being on the show. It's really both a unique business and a really different nonprofit. So we're really both proud of what you've done so far and how you've accomplished this, but want to tell people, get involved, look into doing this because there's something that can really make a difference to the community. So we really thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
So you've been listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY. You can listen to this episode in a few weeks on our website, biztalkwithscore.com. You can also find a series of other web shows that have been on there for over the last 5.5 years now. We want to thank everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thank you.